Welcome to tonight's webinar, How to Study Hebrews 11 Hall of Faith with Logos Bible Software. This is such a challenging chapter, and I'm really excited that we have an opportunity to do this together. So let's get started. There's not going to be a personal book with this particular webinar due to the nature of our topic, but we're definitely going to spend a lot of time walking you through some things. So what is the purpose of a webinar? Well, first, it's going to provide training for Logos Bible Software. It's going to provide training so you can study the topic for yourself. We're going to provide biblical insights related to the topic. At times, it's going to be fast-paced, including a lot of information to increase training value. Training at times may be complex with multiple steps. We got some lovely cranes outside joining the webinar. Other times, training is easy to follow along with just a few steps. All webinars are recorded for purchase and review offline. And like I said, tonight's webinar, we will not have a personal book, but we'll have plenty of training. As far as our next webinars, next on the 18th, we moved some dates around due to some conflicts in my schedule. So Thursday, September 18th is comparing the sacrificial systems, Old Testament versus Millennial Kingdom. A lot of people are confused about sacrifices going on in the Millennial Kingdom. Many think that because Christ has, in a sense, truly, under the Old Covenant, brought an end to the sacrificial system, it's curious to why that would be brought back in the Millennial Kingdom. So we're going to address that question. Very fascinating study. And then on October 9th, surprising uses of Logos' Factbook. So be sure to tune in for those webinars. All right, so why this topic? I think right out of the gate, I need to mention that there is no other chapter in the Bible that overviews and defines living faith better than Hebrews chapter 11. It reveals the temporal triumphs as well as tragedies of obedient faith, submitting to the lordship of Christ. If you're wondering what genuine saving faith looks like, this is the defining chapter to know and understand. And especially in light of recent events. I don't know, I'm sure many of you have heard about Charlie Kirk. What you may not know is that he is a professing evangelical Christian. And in his company and in his events, he would share the gospel. And so this is a brother in the Lord that has been taken from us. And so be in prayer for his wife, his two little kids who don't even realize what is going on. They're that young. And pray that this will cause the country to inspect their own and examine their own heart and their need for a Savior. And so just be in prayer for that situation. All right, so this is a great example. This chapter is a great example of those who are obedient to the gospel, obedient to Christ, obedient to the lordship of Christ and God. And what does that look like? Now, the best way to study a topic like this that's very focused is it's always best to create a custom guide. And I've given you some free downloads to help you do this. All right, so first thing, let's get our layout set up so we can do a very focused study on Hebrews 11. We'll begin first by opening up our preferred Bible. So I just recommend go to your main menu at the top left and click the Bible icon. And that'll get our Bible open. For tonight, I'm going to use the Legacy Standard Bible. Now you notice I have a split window here. I've been doing this lately and it's really been really handy because it allows me to work with the original language very easily. Now how do we do this? Well, we click on View, we click on Add Parallel Text, and then we type in the Greek or Hebrew Bible that we want. Now, you'll see that I have an NA28-BHS 418. So I actually technically have a Hebrew and Greek Bible. So what we're going to do is just type in NA28. If you don't have NA28, just type in NA27. And then scroll down and you'll see a box under typically books. Now, I happen to have a collection where I've joined those two. So I'm going to look for the NA28 GBS. There it is. I check the box. Then what I do is I look for the BHS. I'll type that in. And again, I can expand the various boxes, and there's the BHS, and I can check that box. And so you'll see both boxes there. And that's all you have to do. Now, I already have one, so I'm going to uncheck this. And then once you're done, you want to click Save. That way you can reuse it in the future. Make sure the toggle switch at the top right is opened as well before you click away. And then you should see your text at the right. Very handy. Now, the next thing I want to do is enable a wonderful feature that allows you to select the English, as I'll demonstrate here, and have it highlight the corresponding original language at the right. To do that, all we have to do is click on Emphasize, locate corresponding text in other books, check that box, then check Text Selection, and then click the three dots at the right and choose Show in All Appropriate Books. That's all you got to do. And also, once you're done with that, just click Emphasize, and that will close the menu. And that will give you this really cool feature where you can select the English, and then you know exactly which Greek words are there. All right, so this is step one, and that's just getting your Bible open. The next step is we need some basic word study tools. So let's go and click on Guides, and then we're going to locate Bible Word Study. If you don't see it here at the top, then just type in Word Study in the search box, and then you'll see Word Study at the top, or go to Guides, Bible Word Study, and click it. Now, it's not enough just to open this resource. We want to link it to our Bible. So go to the far right, locate the stoplight menu, click it once, and choose Link Set A. Now, we're going to do this exact same process, but with our Bible. So we'll click on Home on the Home menu, then choose Link Set and choose A. Now, the reason we do this is that gives us the ability to click on any word in the English. I'll click on the word hoped, and my Bible Word Study report will change just as yours will. And that takes us right to the word, in this case, elpizo. Now, let's do one more step. Now, my first dictionary is the DBL Greek. Yours may be different. I like to have a concise dictionary as the first one, because whenever I'm studying and I have new information, I want it to be short and concise. Then if I have a need to go deeper, I'll go deeper. So I clicked on the link. It's opened up at the left. I'm going to left click on the tab and drag that down below. You can see this gray shaded area in the bottom right quadrant. I'm going to release my mouse, and there it is. The next thing I'm going to do is link this book to my Bible. So I click on Home, then click on Link Set, choose letter A, and now it's linked. Now, this is a lot of space. My text is kind of large. So if you want a little more reading room, click on View, and then you can see the zoom, and you can make this like maybe 100%. And that gives you a little more reading room. You can also click on View again, and that'll hide the menu and give you a little more reading room. And that makes the book much more user-friendly for the space that you have if it's limited. All right, so we have our Bible, we have our Bible Word Study, and we now have our preferred dictionary. But there's a couple other items we need to add that'll make things a little bit easier. When you're doing a book like this, having a Bible background book is real handy. I'll click on the library icon, and one that I use all the time is the IVP background. They sell it as a 2-volume set. I highly recommend it. We'll click on that and bring that into our layout. Now, I'm going to left click and drag this over to the right. So it's just to the right of the Bible Word Study. Now, you may have noticed when I opened the book, a little, some orange concentric rings were appearing. I want to turn that off. So I'm going to click on Tools, and I'm just going to type in Program and click on Program Settings. And I've noticed this about Logos recently. You make these changes and it doesn't keep them. So it's actually under here, Show Visual Cues. And I'm going to click No. And that should turn it off. And we'll go ahead and click on X to close the tab. So now we have our background. That's very key. Now, the next thing I want to do is open up a specialized search engine. So let's click on Search. And in this case, mine opened over here to the right. That's exactly where I want it. If yours didn't appear here, then drag it over there. And we're going to click on Clause Search. You'll see why this is really important later. We're going to click on Clause Search. Since we're in the New Testament, we want to click this first drop-down link and make sure it's the Greek New Testament. And then for the all passages, let's click that. So type in Hebrews 11 and then choose Save. And then press Enter when you see this reference range. Press Enter again, and now it's saved. And you can see Hebrews 11 is right there. So we're going to focus all our searching to Hebrews 11. Very handy. All right, we're almost done. We now have to download a custom guide that I've created for you for this study. To access this free custom guide, click on Documents. And then we're going to go to Public. And I labeled it really simple, Hebrews 11. So just type in Hebrews space 11. You'll see guide template at the right. Again, it's Hebrews 11 in the find box, public at the right, and then click on Hebrews 11 so it's selected. It'll be gray when you select it. And then click Add to your docs. You'll see a blue bar appear and disappear quite quickly, and that's to let you know it's downloaded. Now, to access this guide, we have to go to the Guides icon on the main menu. So go ahead and click Guides and type in Hebrews. And you should see Hebrews 11 Learn Logos. Go ahead and click and open. And again, we're going to want this over at the right. Very handy. And this one we can link or not link. It really doesn't matter. I'm not going to link it for this training video. All right, we've got our layout. We need to save it so we can reuse it. So let's click on the Layouts icon. You can see that icon right up here at the top. We'll click on Layouts, wait for Logos to open, and then click on the blue button, Saved as Named Layout. We'll go ahead and do that. And let's just type in Hebrews 11 to keep our naming conventions the same. And we'll go ahead and press Enter. In a few moments, Logos will save this under the section Saved Layout. This list is alphabetical order, so if we scroll down to the H's, we should see a check mark next to Hebrews 11. There it is, and we're going to go ahead and left-click and drag this to the top bar. Now, you notice I've got a little line there. That helps you know where it is. If you don't see a line, go between two icons. That makes it a little bit easier. Otherwise, just kind of float it over that gray area and release. And you'll see a wonky-looking icon, so let's right-click on that. Now, what we have to do is choose an icon that's memorable, but also reflective of what we're studying. And so in this case, I'm going to choose the fish icon. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to click off the menu to make it go away. And if we float our mouse, you're going to see that it says Hebrews 11 and a little thumbnail picture of your layout. All right, so now we've got our layout. We're in great shape. And now we need to set up the layout, the custom guide specifically. So go ahead and put in Hebrews 11:1 in the box, the Bible cross-reference box, and press Enter. Now, the first time you run it, everything's going to open up. So just right-click on the first one or second section and choose Collapse All. And that will minimize every section. Now, you notice I have a couple collections here in the last four collections. Yours just says All Collections or something similar to that. What we want to do is go over to the right, click on Settings, and type in 06. And what we're looking for is 06 Historical Background in Dictionaries from LearnLogos. Now, most of you have been with me a while and you've downloaded this already. If you haven't, you'll have to go back to Documents, Public, put in 06 Historical Background, and download it just like you downloaded the custom guide. But to save time, we're going to skip that step since most of you have these. Then we're going to go to the next collection, click on Settings, and type in 07. And the one we're looking for here is 07, Systematic and General Theology, LearnLogos. You're doing great. Let's go to the third one, click on Settings, and we're going to put in 08 hyphen, and we're looking for 08 Commentaries All. And then the last one, click on Settings, and we'll type in 09 hyphen, and choose 09 Application. All right, that's it for the custom collections. Now, once you set those, they're saved automatically. We don't have to resave our layout at all to keeping those changes. Excellent. All right, now we've got our layout set up. Let's begin to dive deep into this passage. Now, the first thing you want to do in a chapter like this is you want to outline the passage. And there's two primary tools to do this. The easy tool, the shortcut tool, is to go to the library, and there's a resource called the Outline Bible. And I'm going to type in Outline Space Bible, click Rank so it's number 1 in the list, and you'll see the Outline Bible by Harold Wilmington. The reason we're looking at this resource is because it does a good job of breaking down the chapter. So we can see kind of the section. So let's take a look at Hebrews 11. I typed in Hebrews 11 and navigated us there. So first it talks about the explanation of faith, Roman numeral 1. It's verses 1 through 3 and includes 6. Now I get a little annoyed when they do this because it's breaking up the flow of the passage, and that tells me that your outline maybe needs a little work, but that's okay. We can see the nature and we can see its necessity. Pretty cool. Then we have the examples of faith, and we get this wonderful list of every individual mentioned. And notice he has who they were and what they did. Pretty straightforward. Then we have what they endured, why they endured, and what they received. This is a really good outline with a series of inductive questions. And so this can guide you in how you're going to organize the information. Now, that's one strategy. That's a shortcut, works pretty good. Strategy number 2 is to outline this yourself. And the tool to do that is opentext.org. You've seen me use this resource many times. I have several webinars on it. And if you type in OpenText, one word, if you have this resource, you'll see the clause visualization OpenText. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this to the left. And I'm going to, actually, I think we can leave it right here. And I'll just shrink it just a little bit so we can see everything in there. Okay, so let's go to Hebrews 11:1, just at the beginning of the passage. Now, a quick overview of this is a PC represents the primary clause, the primary idea. The dotted line lets you see the division breaks between the primary clauses, the main ideas. So in Hebrews 11:1, that's one singular idea. Verse 2, one singular idea. You go to verse 3, another singular idea. You go to verse 4, again, one idea with a lot of subordinate. You come to verse 5, though, and we have one primary idea, two primary ideas, three primary ideas. Okay? So that little line helps you know that there's more than one idea. Pretty handy. Now let's go back to the beginning. Now, what we typically do is we want to identify the main subject and main verb, because this is how we identify the key point of these primary clauses, these main ideas. The main idea is a combination of subject and the verb. So S represents a subject, that's faith, and the verb in this case is. So right away out of the gate, we can see that faith is. And then we get some additional information. That's what the C for complements does. That's what the EC embedded clauses does, etc. So we would work our way identifying the subject and verse. Let's look at a couple more just for some examples. Here we are in Hebrews 11:2. The subject, people of old were approved. So faith is, and we got this description, people of old were approved. Verse 3, the subject is we understand, or the verb is we understand, but there's no subject labeled with an S, but that subject is joined to the verb, so it's we understand. And then again, there's more details. Hebrews 11:4, the main subject connected to the PC is able, and then offered. So now we're getting to an individual, and we can see the subject and the action. Now, when you see these SCs, that means they're subordinate. They're secondary clauses or secondary thoughts. That's really the idea. And this is additional information, subordinate. It fills things out for us, fills in the details. So here we have Abel offered. And what do we discover about Abel? Well, again, if we go to the P connected to SC, we see he was approved. We go to the second subject, he was approved, God approved him. So God is the one who approved him. We go to the third secondary clause, and we see the primary verb is speaks. And we find out that he still speaks, though he is dead. So pretty cool. Now, what does this look like? Well, let me open up Hebrews 11 document that I've already diagrammed and show you what this looks like when you start working through this. So I have Hebrews 11 here, and let me go to my documents, and here we go, Hebrews 11 sentence diagram. Let me just bring this over so you guys can view this. This is the sentence diagramming tool. And you click Insert Passage, you put in your passage, Hebrews 11, you choose your Bible translation, you choose text flow. And what I did is I simply diagrammed, block diagram. The main clause, the primary clause, was here on its own sentence, and in all the subordinate or embedded clauses, I placed underneath the primary clause. And I just worked my way through this. So you can see faith is, for by people of old received. I color-coded the subjects blue, color-coded the verbs red. And you can see I'm just working my way through this one at a time. And that's all you're going to do. Now, the reason we do this is to slow down, make observations, and organize. This can also help you build an outline. And you'll see a lot more details when you slow down and block diagram like this. Now, again, tonight's training is not to show you how to block diagram, but to let you know this is a step you should do. I have training videos on the open text block diagramming that you can get. All right, let's go ahead and click on the X and close. All right, so those are the two ways to outline. I should make you aware, though, that there is an outline browser tool. So if we go to the main menu, click the waffle icon, the 9 dots, type in the word tool. Actually, let me do that again. And if you type in outline, you'll see Bible Outline Browser. Now, I'm going to click on this. I don't use it that often, and you're going to see why, but I at least want to make you aware of it. So I'm going to type in Hebrews 11 and press enter. Now, the reason I don't use it is most of the outlines that come back are pretty limited. They're not detailed like that Harold Wilmington Bible outline where it's really versified. So in this case, in the Apostolic Study Bible, there's only one outline, 11, 1 through 40. Now, if we click and expand that, we can see if there's a sub-outline, but there's not in this case. We'll just go ahead and minimize that. Now, if we click this little double chevron at the top left, it opens up more menus, and that gives you the ability then to change the commentary and look at different outlines. So I do like to look at a couple of these. So here we have Christ is worthy, our faith. So I'm going to close the double chevron. We'll expand 11 and 12. But again, look at this. That's it. So they combined 11 and 12. Let's go to maybe something Bible Expositor, Carl Henry. We'll click on him. We'll expand. All right, let's close the chevron. So he has 11, 1 through 40, faith in action. And again, very limited. So the commentaries are just too high level for me. We need more details, which is why a resource like the Outline Bible is so handy. But those are the three ways to get an outline. You can build it yourself, you can borrow from someone else, or you can just review others at a more high level. All right, great. So we've built the outline. That's the assumption. So that'll take a little bit of time. Let's now take it to the next step. With an outline, you have the structure, and that's really important. I should note that there's one search you could do to make things a little more interesting. I'll share this with you. So let me go ahead and click on my favorites here and minimize and go to my special search. And I'll go ahead and give this search for you. It is for structure. All right. And let me go ahead and paste that into the chat box. Now we're looking for Hebrews 11. So we have to click in the search box at the very end, remove Mark, and change that to Hebrews 11 and press enter. So this search needs to be customized every time you use it. Now we're looking for is someone who talks about structure, like here, a key to structure and rhetorical purpose of Hebrews 11. That looks kind of interesting. Unfortunately, it's in the religious and theological abstracts. We could click on and just see if there is any insights. Maybe it'll give us a little idea. So here it demonstrates through a detailed study of Hebrews 11 that references the future resurrection, 11:17 through 19 and 35, are foundational. That doesn't really help us. We could scroll down. Let's see. It says here there's a chiasm, and we're in the chart on the books of Hebrews. This looks very good. Let me go ahead and maximize that, bring it over. All right, maximize it. Now, this is pretty cool. This is what I'm looking for. So I definitely recommend this book, Chart on the Book of Hebrews, and that'll definitely be very good by Herbert Bateman. Now, look at this. It is structured the text in a chiastic structure. And in a chiastic structure, there's parallelism. So the first part goes with the last part, hence the A and A1. B goes with B1, and C and D and E and G. But in a chiastic structure, the key idea is always found in the middle. That's what everything hinges upon. And if we float our mouse, we can see verse 13 through 16. All these died in faith. That's a true statement of everything. Without receiving the promises, but having seen them and having welcomed them from a distance and having confessed that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. For those who say such things make it clear that they are seeking a country of their own. And indeed, if they had been remembering that country from which they went out, they would have had opportunity to return. But now they aspire to a better country, that is, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he prepared a city for them. That's what this is all about. The whole faith chapter is about the believer desiring to be with God. That's what faith is, a relationship that says, I prefer you, God, above all things, all people. I love you with all my heart, mind, soul, and strength. And I love you more than mother, father, sister, brother, wife, etc. That's all expressed, built into this little picture here in verses 13 through 16. Pretty neat. Now, there's a lot more expression of faith and what that looks like and how each individual is challenged, but you can see this outline is giving some of those. Abel's example of suffering, Enoch's example of triumph, Principle of faith, impossible to please God. Example of faith, as seen through Noah. Abraham's faith in obeying God's calling. Sarah's example of faith in conceiving Isaac. And we just work through our list. Very, very cool. And you can see the parallel. Abraham's example of faith in offering up Isaac. Faith from Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, which, interestingly, is tied to Abraham's faith. Other examples of faith tied to Noah. Other examples, faith conquering Jericho, tied to principles of faith. So this is a wonderful structure and is going to be extremely helpful